I think people should invent because it makes a profound impact on other people's lives. You're advancing society in some way, and hopefully that's in a positive light. Same as how Edison invented the light bulb. I hear people say all the time, there must be a better way. And you know what? I think they're right. It is something that means that much to somebody to say that it must be a better way. I think you have to pique your interest and to look at it as something I should tackle, something I should look at. Maybe it's simple. What inspires me is to see things in everyday life that change overnight because somebody's invented something. Take, for instance, depositing checks at your bank. Things have changed to such a degree I don't even have to go to the bank anymore. I can simply take my smartphone, take a picture of the check, and instantly it's deposited. So something along those lines I think is something very profound and does impact people's lives. Sometimes it's in the form of an epiphany. It just comes upon you out of nowhere, out of the blue. Other times it takes some thinking. I like to think that I would look at problems that might be something that were a matter of convenience these days instead of taking hard work. For instance, you take security for granted when you walk in and out of either an airport or even on a laptop per se. Most people will circumvent security for the sake of just getting things done quickly. So if you can find a way to invent something that gets in the middle of that process to make it easier, then you've done something profound. I think, you also look at things like fast food today. People have decided to stop cooking in their homes because fast food just seems to be easier. And regardless of whether that has ill-sided effects, people still do it. So why not make it easier for someone to, let's say, cook in their own home again? So it's those types of things, getting back to getting people back to what they're normally comfortable with in such a way that it doesn't interrupt their lives or make it less meaningful. I tend to work alone, and for the plain and simple reason that I find it hard enough to convince myself, much less others, that I've invented something of any importance. I think the things that inspire me the most are sitting down in front of some of these blogs and posts and RSS feeds. They seem to give me an environment for which I'm free to think. And most times if I'm sitting in front of something like that, I can think, aha, there might be something else that's important here, or somebody didn't think of this edge case. That's important to me. And for the sake of what time of day it is that I like to invent the most, it seems to be after lunch. That's when I find the most time to read, and it's kind of like rebooting from lunchtime. The invention itself is intended to help people move data from one computer to another without having to worry about the underlying protocols and security and all those things that go with it. So in essence, it was looking at a problem that many people tried to solve over and over and over again, and instead of letting them do that again, let's do it one time for them and sustain that common component. It seems to make the environment we work in a lot more agile. You can worry about bigger problems than what we've already established for you. The transportation of a payload of data, moving it from one endpoint to another, was always interesting to me. Why did it have to be so difficult? Why do I have to do the same procedures over and over again? I mean, you look at people sometimes think of other people's code as inferior. So why not take the choice of how to move things from one endpoint to another out of the hands and the worry of a typical developer and give them the option to just add the payload and identify the endpoints and then move the data without them knowing what the underlying aspects are of that network transfer. For instance, things like security, you don't have to reinvent that. You don't have to rebuild that. You don't have to re-add that to the payload. It's already there for you. So I think it was a matter of determining that many people in many places were building the same thing over and over again, and it was wasteful. It's wasteful in the amount of time that it's taken and the resources and the thought process that goes into it. So it makes their lives a little easier, and it reduces the time frame that it takes to build a component, and it also creates an agile environment for us. I was really excited when I received my first patent. I believe that it was an incredible feeling to know that others felt that I had the capacity to do such a thing. I think it was inspiring for me to know that other people thought that of me. And I think although the process was lengthy and difficult, it was very rewarding once it was finished. Well, I guess the first thing I would do in the case of invention would be to write it down. I mean, quite simply, it's just that. A fleeting thought may escape you. After that, what I typically do is I'll maybe sit down with the thought for a week and let it stew. After that, I'll build a PowerPoint because I find that visualization works much better, not only with my own way of thinking, but with others. And then after that, I might shop the idea around, see if it sticks, so to speak. And then after that, if it really takes on, whether or not it goes any further than that is really irrespective. What I find interesting is that it's a domino effect. Once you've either invented something or were inspired to invent something, other people either A, will do the same, or B, it'll affect their lives. You have no control over that. And I think that's an amazing thought to see that domino effect take place. It's the free capacity. It's the freedom of my mind to work every day. And that's really what it comes down to. I feel free enough to think about the things that I think are either important or that somebody else might find useful in their lives. I think it's amazing that people actually take the time to look at what you've done and they find it smart or intelligible, and they're willing to give you that chance. They're willing to give you that freedom and that rope to take on whatever it is that you think is right. And they're curious to know what the answer might be. And again, it impacts them no matter what you say or what you do.